This is He Knows Everything, bringing you that heat and that far. Let's talk about it, man. Lefraud James. Let me tell you the 3 prerequisites of Lefraud James that makes him Lefraud James. I'm going to say it again. The 3 prerequisites that make Lefraud James Lefraud James. Prerequisite number 1. Lefraud James has a big precarious issue. You want to know what the precarious issue is? I'm going to explain it. Number 1, Lefraud James is allergic to the Lemoment. He does not want the ball in his hands when the game is on the line and he has to do what's called the defining Lemoment. He makes the supposed right play, the right pass, because he is allergic to the Lemoment. Anytime the Lemoment arises, Lefraud James knows that he does not want it. If you guys remember the All-Star game with Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade and Carmelo Anthony was getting on Lefraud James when Kobe was guarding him. It was like, why don't you take it to me, dog? I'm guarding you. Why don't you show people that you're willing to prescribe to the Lemoment, that you're willing to step up to the Lemoment? He goes and makes the right fucking play because he knew Kobe was going to lash his ass up. That was the same All-Star game where Kobe Bryant blocked his ass up and ripped him up twice. He knew Kobe was going to lock his ass up again, and he didn't want to get embarrassed further. Ironically, before that All-Star game, Jordan said 5 beats 1. At that time, Lefraud James had 1 fucking finals. Kobe had fucking 5. And no, 5 beats 3. At that time, Lefraud James had 3. Kobe had 5. And he said he would pick Kobe Bryant. He didn't even hesitate to say that. Lefraud James is a guy that shies away from the Lemoment. A guy like that cannot be trusted from a basketball sense. That's his first prerequisite that makes him Lefraud James. The second prerequisite that makes him Lefraud James. LeBron James shoots errant free throw shots. A lot of people that so-called tell you they're basketball enthusiasts or basketball historians, they don't understand the importance of free throw shooting, especially in game-defining moments. Michael Jordan understood this. Kobe Bryant understood this. Kevin Durant understood it. Lefraud James doesn't understand it. That's why he's averaging in the high 60-something percentiles. Used to be low 70%. So he's actually gotten worse from the free throw line. The reason why Lefraud James shies away from the Lemoment is because he knows he's going to get fouled. Hence, he's going to have to shoot free throws when the pressure is on. That's why he does not want to deal with the Lemoment. You see how they're connected? You see how they're interwoven? Let's contextualize it. You see how it's connected? How it's interwoven? He knows that if he is put in a precarious situation where he has to do this, he's going to nut the fuck up because he's not going to hit free throws. Go look at games where LeBron James was fouled for going for a layup that he missed or going for a shot that he's missed. He's always missed those fucking free throws in game-defining moments because he's allergic to the Lemoment. Free throw shooting is so crucial in basketball. But Lefraud James knows this. But he also knows that his ability to step up and rise to the occasion is basically what we would say a not. Basically what we would say a zilch. Basically what we would say a zero. That's the second prerequisite that makes Lefraud James a fucking Lefraud. Now let's talk about the third prerequisite. Lefraud James always needs the most team helping the NBA's ever seen. The stacking of the cards of the deck has to be in his favor. That means he has to have all of the stars. He has to have all of the all-stars. He has to have all of these shooters to stretch the floor. Basically, he has to have so much stacked up on his team because he is not the chosen one. He is the fucking frozen one. See, this is what people don't want to talk about at their truest and their most properest levels. But we got to call a spade a spade. We got to keep it real. We got to keep it a buck, and we got to keep it 1,000. Lefraud James is every bit the Lefraud that the NBA fails to tell you that he really is at his truest and his most properest levels. Because every time you have to Lagoon Lareth, every time you have to LeBought and LePay for, every time you have to stack up your team in a stacking of the cards of the deck, It's showcasing that there's a lot insecurity, a lot misery, as you know what in your life. But it also showcases that there's a lacking of something. That means the lacking of being clutch. Because clutch, you can't manufacture that. You can't engineer it. Either you are clutch or you're not. Unfortunately, Lefraud James is not clutch. He never was. Anyone that tells you otherwise don't know shit about the game of basketball when they try to sit here and tell you that Lefraud James is the clutch. Because in actuality, Lefraud James is not the clutch. Everything about Lefraud James tells you he is actually the opposite factor of the clutch, because he shies away from the Lemoment. When we look at Lefraud James, we see a Lefraud. We see a fraudulent basketball player. We see low participation award error. We see a guy who's the biggest overrated basketball player the NBA's ever seen. We see a guy that's 0 out of 10, the NBA Finals averager and performer. Because the 4 that he won, it doesn't even count. When we sit here and we look at Lefraud James, we have to ask ourselves cold-hearted. We have to ask ourselves unadulterated, and we have to ask ourselves cutthroat fashion. What is that? That once a Lefraud James, always a Lefraud James. He's a guff-a-folk, greatest finals failure of all time. And the reason why he's the greatest finals failure of all time is because he knows how to lose when it matters the most. And when he wins, he has la safety blankets to la save the fucking la day for his la rabbit la ass. That's the cold-hearted. That's the unadulterated. That's the cutthroat fashion. I keeps the foot on the Eeks. I keeps the foot on the Eeks. This is HeKnowsEverything. Check it out.